Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. Let me first inform you that the Bureau met this morning for the last time and discussed several issues. Despite our hard work of yesterday, we are still behind the schedule and have a total of 12 elements to examine today. If we do not examine certain crucial items today, the committee will not be able to function next year, and therefore, we will have to follow today's timetable in the most vigorous manner. The items that we expect to finish by the end of the morning session are 15, reflection on the participation of NGOs in the implementation of the convention, 7, draft plan of the fund for 2020-2021, which item will be reopened since it was suspended on Monday, 16, report of the informal ad hoc open-ended working group, 17, accreditation of new NGOs and review of accredited NGOs, and 18, establishment of the evaluation body for the 2020 cycle. Then, upon their return in the room at 2 p.m., the committee members will find a printed copy of the updated committee's report to the General Assembly and the list of all decisions adopted up to the end of the morning session. They will have half an hour to read the report and the decisions. My understanding is that the rapporteur is delegated to validate later on all the decisions adopted at the 14th session on behalf of the committee, and that the Secretariat will publish the decision on their final version by the end of the year. In the afternoon, we will have to examine the remaining items, which include 19, follow-up on the implementation of the recommendations of the open-ended working group on the governance procedures and working methods of UNESCO governing bodies. 20, date and venue of the 15th session of the committee. 21, election of the Bureau members for the 15th session. 22, other business. 5A, report by the committee to the General Assembly on its activities. 23, adoption of the list of decisions. And 24, closure. Dear committee members, in principle, we will carry on with our work today in this order. However, if I see that the debate on certain items of the morning get into lengthy discussions, I will have no choice but to suspend them and move directly to those items that we need to be completed in order to ensure the functioning of the committee in 2020. These items are the accreditation of review of NGOs, item 17, establishment of the evaluation body, item 18, date and venue of the 15th session, item 20, election of the Bureau members, item 21, and adoption of the list of decisions, item 23, and the committee's report on its activities, item 5A. Without any further delay, let us now start the morning session. We'll go then through item 15, reflection on the participation of non-governmental organizations in the implementation of the convention. We all agree that NGOs accomplish an important and diverse work in the implementation of the convention, as demonstrated by the oral report given to us by the ICH NGO Forum on Monday. NGOs play a vital role in the safeguarding of living heritage. May I now ask the Secretariat to present this item to us. The floor is yours, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I believe on the screen you might see a timeline of the reflection process. just to help understand as I discuss and as my colleague discusses. The reflection process on the advisory role of accredited non-governmental organizations was launched by the committee at its 12th session in 2017. At the time, the Secretariat and the informal ad hoc working group were invited to reflect in consultation with accredited NGOs on the possible ways in which the participation of NGOs under the 2003 Convention could be further enhanced and how this would be reflected in the accreditation and renewal mechanisms of non-governmental organization. And I refer to Decision 12-17. The open nature of the reflection allowed for a wide range of opinions and ideas to be expressed and explored by states, parties, and accredited NGOs. While some tendencies could be identified, there was no clear consensus which emerged on several important aspects, and in particular on the definition of the inter alia advisory function, which is at the heart of the matter in this reflection. Madam Chairperson, with your permission, I would like to ask my colleague, Julien Nakata, to present in more detail some of the key findings from the reflection process.
Merci, Tim. Au total, 99 ONG accréditées et 76 États, soit 56% des ONG accréditées et 43% des États parties, ont pris part à au moins une étape du processus de réflexion que vous voyez actuellement à l'écran. Comme la grande majorité des membres du comité a pris part à cette réflexion, permettez-moi de n'en présenter que les conclusions les plus importantes. Après 2 années dans ce processus de réflexion, nous avons observé que les nombreuses parties prenantes impliquées semblent avoir différentes interprétations des objectifs visés par le système. D'une part, le système d'accréditation vise à identifier des ONG possédant des compétences avérées dans le domaine du patrimoine culturel immatériel pour occuper des fonctions consultatives auprès du comité. D'autre part, le système d'accréditation est également largement considéré comme un mécanisme d'affiliation qui permet aux ONG d'être identifiées et de bénéficier d'une reconnaissance internationale. Ces 2 visions évoquent 2 systèmes distincts, avec des objectifs différents, des fonctions différentes, et donc potentiellement des critères et des processus différents. En lien avec ces 2 conceptions, 2 types de fonctions ont donc été évoqués tout au long de la réflexion. Selon ces fonctions consultatives, actuelles et potentielles, les ONG sont considérées à la fois comme des organisations consultatives auprès du comité, mais également comme des parties prenantes dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention. Parmi ces fonctions consultatives, on distingue clairement les fonctions que les ONG accréditées peuvent ou pourraient remplir directement auprès du comité, de celles qu'elles peuvent exécuter par l'intermédiaire des États ou directement auprès des communautés. Un autre aspect abordé a été la mise en place potentielle d'une organisation cadre qui pourrait superviser le système d'accréditation et coordonnerait l'assistance consultative fournie par les ONG. Cette possibilité a notamment fait l'objet de nombreux débats lors de la réunion de consultation du 18 avril 2019. Bien que le rôle du Forum des ONG du PCI ait été mis en valeur tout au long du processus de réflexion, les États et les ONG accréditées semblent craindre que la mise en place d'une organisation cadre n'entraîne des complications inutiles dans la procédure d'accréditation et n'ait un impact négatif sur la diversité des ONG accréditées. Le déséquilibre de la répartition géographique des ONG accréditées a été identifié comme l'un des problèmes majeurs tout au long de la réflexion. Plutôt que d'instaurer un plafond pour limiter le nombre d'ONG accréditées, la mise en œuvre de mesures dites souples semble privilégiée pour favoriser plutôt l'accréditation d'ONG provenant de régions sous-représentées. Ces mesures incluent des initiatives de sensibilisation réalisées par l'intermédiaire du large réseau d'entités associées à l'UNESCO, ainsi que par l'intermédiaire d'actions de renforcement des capacités. À cet égard, le comité pourrait juger utile d'identifier des domaines d'intérêt thématique qui pourraient stimuler un effort de ciblage des ONG actives dans certaines régions. Sur la base du processus de réflexion, certaines mesures sont proposées dans le document de travail. Pour faciliter la participation des ONG accréditées dans le système actuel, ces mesures sont reflétées également dans le projet de décision. Parmi ces mesures, on retrouve par exemple la cartographie des domaines de compétences et d'expérience des ONG accréditées, qui pourrait notamment aider à définir les fonctions consultatives que ces ONG pourraient remplir auprès du comité. En parallèle, et afin d'explorer comment les ONG accréditées pourraient assurer leurs fonctions consultatives, le secrétariat se propose de discuter avec le comité de pilotage du Forum des ONG du PCI la manière dont les ONG pourraient contribuer à la mise en place et au suivi de la plateforme sur l'éthique dans la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel immatériel. Je rappelle que cette plateforme a été créée sur le site de la Convention, conformément à la décision 10-15A, qui avait notamment permis l'adoption en 2015 des principes éthiques pour la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel immatériel. Merci Madame la Présidente, merci Tim.
Thank you, Julien. Given the outcomes of the reflection process, our conclusion remains that if the current system persists, NGOs that wish to advise the committee may have difficulties doing so due to the lack of opportunities, while the committee may have difficulties in identifying NGOs that can effectively contribute to its work. It is crucial to first ensure that the accreditation system is best suited to fulfilling its main function, advising the committee, given the limited resources at hand. In this regard, the committee may, for instance, envisage periodically defining specific tasks that it wishes to assign to accredited NGOs. For this to be achieved, however, the accreditation system would need to ensure that accredited NGOs possess the necessary capacities and experience to carry out these tasks. Refocusing the accreditation system on its main objective would also ensure that it is not redundant with the broader framework for partnerships with NGOs at the level of UNESCO. This redundancy is indeed a real risk if the accreditation system is envisaged as an affiliation system for NGOs that contribute to the implementation of the Convention. This could also alleviate concerns that may be raised in terms of governance, effectiveness, and cost efficiency. 2 years into this reflection process, I need to acknowledge that we have not yet reached the stage where we can propose concrete steps towards reforming the accreditation system. While we will report on the outcomes of this reflection process to the next session of the General Assembly in June 2020, we would also hope to be able to propose some initial steps forward based on the debates of the committee at the present session. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Mr. Curtis. I'll open the floor. Does anybody wants to take it? Philippines?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and good morning, distinguished colleagues. We'd like to thank the Secretariat for the report on the results of the consultation process on this agenda item. As we have said throughout this session, we view accredited NGOs and the NGO Forum as valuable partners of the committee and common custodians of the convention. We would like to hear their voices representing communities more profoundly, as this convention is primarily about respecting and empowering the grassroots. The relationship between the committee and accredited NGOs remains filled with untapped potential, as the Secretariat has reported. In our opinion, vehicles for accredited NGOs to contribute to the work of the committee and safeguarding of ICH include the periodic reporting mechanism, reporting on elements inscribed on the lists, capacity building, and possible thematic studies and projects. We agree that a mapping exercise of the NGO network would be valuable to obtain an overview of the capacities of accredited NGOs. We think the annual meetings of this committee can be used more optimally to develop partnerships between interested states parties and the accredited NGOs. Therefore, we encourage more meaningful and regular interaction between the committee and the NGO Forum. We have submitted an amendment to the draft decision specifically to suggest that the report of the NGO Forum be a separate agenda item on the committee's agenda in future sessions. We think this would lead to more interactive discussion between the committee and the NGO Forum, which already meets intensively for 2 days and develops pertinent recommendations for our consideration. Hopefully, this procedural adjustment will spill over to other issues on the committee agenda and help develop a closer and more meaningful relationship between the committee and the accredited NGOs, of course, fully respecting the core functions and prerogative of the committee as the main intergovernmental decision-making body. We understand this proposal could have some statutory implications, such as the NGO forum having to submit the report in advance of the committee session for translation, as well as a decision by the committee taking note of their report after a brief discussion. We are prepared to discuss this when we get to the draft decision, and we would be very glad to hear the views of other committee members and the NGO representatives on this proposal. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Philippines. Now, Poland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to thank Secretariat for this report, and I would like to underline that we strongly appreciate the activity of the NGOs in the field of implementation of the Convention 2003. NGOs are essentially related to Convention. That is why we welcome with satisfaction a constant development of the NGOs Forum as platform of exchanging ideas, practices, and forging new, more effective models of capacity building, cooperation with communities, cultivating intangible elements. We observe that year by year has been reflected a process of implementation of the Convention and initiated in 2017 a role of the NGOs as advisory body, playing a crucial role as we speak about the cooperation with communities in role of brokers, mediators, assistants. The broad area of interest of NGOs Forum embraces such important aspect for improvement of the implementation of the Convention as pre-inscription and post-inscription process, assistance to the community and bearers, and then monitoring them and monitoring mechanism of implementation of safeguarding measures, which should involve NGOs, communities, groups, and individuals. We can point out reflection of definition and proper methodology concerning the assessment of the urgent need to safeguard ICH elements. We notice the need to improve visibility of good practices that should be considered as one of the most important instruments for dissemination and understanding the spirit of Convention. Finally, we would like to turn your attention on the ethical principles for Convention that should be promoted and more respected in process of preparation of the candidatures. Maybe for the future work based on cooperation in the mutual efforts for implementation of the Convention would be suitable for NGOs to provide the committee report on its activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Poland. Palestine.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je souhaite d'abord remercier, bien sûr, le secrétariat pour le document et pour la présentation. Et puis, je remercie les deux collègues, la Pologne et les Philippines, et je souscris complètement à l'intervention du Philippines. Et ça m'épargne aussi de reprendre ce que j'ai préparé, donc ça va être beaucoup plus rapide. Nevertheless, we welcome, and I should say that we highly appreciate the role of the NGOs on the ground with regard to the implementation of our convention. We are not fully aware about the method of work of the NGOs Forum and its steering committee. Nevertheless, we know, and it has been highlighted, and I would like to highlight it again, that the representativity of the regions, of the different regions in the NGOs Forum is unbalanced, while in the steering committee it is equal and there is equity. So, to be brief and to go fast, I would like to address the following questions to the NGOs present here. First question. Would you please explain the governance system of the NGOs Forum? This is the first question. Second, how do you address the imbalance in your forum? Third, actually it is related to the intervention of our colleague from Philippines, and I would just specify the question to them that has been addressed, saying, would it be helpful to have your report presented to the committee? Now, formally, under a separate item or as an INF document or whatever, but the idea is to have the report presented to the committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Merci Palestine pour vos questions. Netherlands, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This week, we all could experience what the accredited NGOs within the ICH NGO Forum are discussing and presenting in the side events and the symposium on ICH in urban contexts. The workshop on the way NGOs could have advisory functions in different stages of the nomination process, prescription and postscription, but also in the lighter ways of sharing good practices of safeguarding were very inspiring. We see that NGOs of all capacities and sizes can contribute to these other ways of advisory functions to the Convention. The way the NGO Forum takes up on new thematic areas like ICH in urban context is very promising, and we think they could be of great help to the Convention in that way. The NGO Forum is working on issues which, for instance, have been observed by the evaluation body for several years and have become discussion points in relation to the inscription process of files. In our discussions this week, we noticed, for instance, the recurring point of tourism in relation to sustainability. This is a challenge, and in the context of ICH, and we all noticed the evaluation body's remarks to over-commercialization and decontextualization. This particular topic was discussed in the working groups of the NGO Forum, and we think that the Forum could examine, discuss and reflect on these subjects and report their findings to the committee. We have understood that the Forum is planning a symposium on sustainable tourism during next year's committee meeting, and also work on the set of ethical principles and a toolkit for communities. We welcome these initiatives of the NGO Forum. Also in the monitoring and reporting functions, NGOs could play an important role, especially in the new reporting mechanism. NGO will play a key role in the process of reporting. The accreditation of NGOs from underrepresented countries is still a concern that needs to be addressed, and we welcome the initiatives of the Forum to organize capacity building projects for accredited NGOs to train a series of NGOs in every region that can take up the role in outreach and regional networking, to build a larger network of NGOs in their regions and to activate other NGOs. And we understand there has been established a working group within the NGO Forum, especially tasked to work on this, and we welcome this. So we value very much the work and the commitment of the ICH NGO Forum, and we think it would be good to have more communication between the NGO Forum and the committee, but we also value the independent position and advice of the NGO Forum. So we would like to hear the perspective of the Forum on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Netherlands. Austria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. We have also followed this process very closely and would like to thank everyone involved in the reflection that concerns so many articles of the Convention. More than half of accredited NGOs and almost 50% of states parties took part in the process. And the activities of accredited NGOs and the NGO Forum before and during the committee meeting further emphasized their strong dedication to the Convention and their support for this undertaking. The Austrian delegation has always been wholeheartedly committed to the involvement of civil society organizations in the implementation of the Convention. Given the fact that some regions are underrepresented in our current system, we still need to find new ways in which the participation of NGOs that are based in underrepresented regions could further be enhanced. We also welcome the idea to collect and map the diverse fields of competencies and experience of accredited NGOs and their capacities very much. This could also facilitate the sharing of good practices and of lessons learned. In this regard, it might be useful to include accredited NGOs in our online tool Dive into ICH, where their experience could be relevant. More so, the ICH NGO Forum is already working on specific topics and thematic issues, as we've already heard, such as ICH in urban context and sustainable tourism. Accredited NGOs have also formed international as well as regional working groups on specific topics, such as lighter ways of sharing good practices, ICH at museums, or ICH and emergencies, to name just a few. We appreciate the participation of accredited NGOs in the process and are looking forward to hearing their views and reflections on this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Austria. Azerbaijan.
Thank you, Madam President. We thank the Secretariat for the detailed document on the role of NGOs in the implementation of the 2003 Convention. Indeed, NGOs play an important role in safeguarding the ICH at the local, national, and international levels. They are the important actors in the safeguarding of intangible heritage in different contexts, and also they are important they have an important role in throughout the all the nomination process. My delegation supports the reform of the accreditation mechanism of NGOs, which would offer different types of accreditation depending on the scope of their activities, international, regional, national, and local, and their area of expertise, of course. We believe that this will contribute to the visibility of these organizations and will enable public actors at local and national levels to better involve NGOs in the implementation of the Convention. At the same time, we believe that this process should remain as inclusive as possible. We also support the proposal from the Secretariat to gather relevant information from accredited NGOs in order to develop a mapping of their domains of competence, taking into consideration their capacities. Thank you.
Thank you, Azerbaijan. Le Sénégal, on vous écoute.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais également remercier le secrétariat pour ce rapport et surtout pour nous avoir soumis cette nouvelle procédure d'accréditation et les mécanismes envisagés par rapport au Forum des ONG. Le Forum des ONG peut être considéré presque comme un bras technique dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention au regard de leurs activités de terrain et de leur proximité avec les communautés. La procédure d'accréditation appelle de ma part, en tout cas du Sénégal, deux questions essentielles. La première a été déjà évoquée par plusieurs délégations, dont les Philippines, la Palestine, Azerbaïdjan, Autriche. Il s'agit, et même de la Pologne bien sûr, il s'agit de la question de l'équilibre régional. C'est un problème et il faudrait qu'on y trouve des solutions. Il faut qu'on se consacre un peu à la réflexion sur les mesures à envisager pour résoudre ce problème de représentativité. En tout cas, au Sénégal, nous nous sommes rendus compte, dans le projet que nous venons d'engager et qui va être finalisé, du rôle combien important de ces ONG sur le terrain. Elles ont participé à tous les niveaux, dans le cadre du renforcement de capacité, comme dans le cadre de cet inventaire pilote que nous venons de terminer. Leur rôle a été décisif. Et pourtant, ces ONG, compte tenu du travail qu'ils effectuent du moins, auraient pu avoir leur place dans le forum. Est-ce que la procédure qui en est responsable? Ou alors, est-ce que c'est les États partis qui doivent jouer un rôle de facilitation dans le cadre même de la proposition d'accréditation de ces ONG? La question est réellement posée. Il nous faut trouver des mesures. La deuxième question, elle s'accorde beaucoup plus à l'implication de ces ONG dans les nouveaux mécanismes des rapports périodiques. Parce que là aussi, on aura besoin de ces ONG par rapport au renforcement de capacité et par rapport à l'implication des communautés. Dans tous les deux cas, il nous faut réfléchir davantage sur ces mécanismes et comment réorganiser. Les ONG sont indépendantes de nature, oui, mais est-ce que les États partis et le comité doivent réfléchir sur une proposition, en tout cas sur des mécanismes à proposer pour arriver à résoudre leur implication plus efficace, plus efficiente dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention. Je vous remercie.
Merci le Sénégal. Maintenant, la parole est pour la Jamaïque.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the issue of disproportional representation in the NGO context, Jamaica, and indeed our colleagues in the region, are well aware of this, and we are wondering if UNESCO could not set up a working agenda in the broader culture sector to strengthen NGOs at the national level, perhaps through the work of the field offices. This could be done over a period of 3 to 5 years with a view to increasing their participation and representation in the convention. Because of budgetary considerations, interventions at the field offices could begin with advocating with local authorities to assist with technical knowledge regarding the proper functions and expectations of NGOs and aligning their work at the community level with international expectations and standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamaica. Now, Estonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. The Estonian delegation would like to congratulate you, Madam Chair, and Colombia for running this meeting efficiently and smoothly, as also the discussion at hand demonstrates. Estonia has been actively engaged for 15 years in making this convention operational. We have keenly followed all the debates concerning advisory functions and role of NGOs. Having heard all the previous debates concerning listing, we would like to stress the importance, besides improving the arbitration system, to undertake seriously the task of monitoring the experience on the ground. That is, the effect of inscriptions on the representative list, as well as on the urgent safeguarding list. These need to be explored from all different perspectives. In this task, the impact of proposed partnerships is paramount. Therefore, we would like to notify here also the productive role of the established UNESCO chairs in the field of intangible cultural heritage, as their number is growing and widening geographically and becoming more and more diversified. The method of partnerships with UNESCO chairs and NGOs should deserve further reflection, we believe, in order to sustain the scope and validity of the advisory functions planned. At the same time, we would like to congratulate the committee for taking up such new, extremely significant topics as the modalities of safeguarding ICH in emergency contexts and ICH in urban settings. These topics, where advisory activities may also substantially contribute, still bring hope to retain the true spirit of the Convention. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your intervention, Estonia. Now the turn is for Sweden. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The NGOs, the civil society, the practitioners and bearers, they are the overall engine for the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage. They have a crucial role to play in ensuring that the intangible cultural heritage remains living and dynamic. Therefore, the question of how to increase the participation of NGOs in the implementation of the Convention is indeed an important issue for the future of this Convention. The reflection process that has started is mostly welcome. The NGOs possess invaluable knowledge and competence that we need to benefit further from. Therefore, the possibility for NGOs to contribute with advice to the committee should be strengthened. As part of this, we believe that it will be useful to have a separate agenda item at the committee meeting with the report from the NGO Forum. We also would like to thank you, Madam Chairperson, for allowing NGOs to take the floor during the debate and before decisions have been taken. This is an important practice that enriches the debate and should be continued. Finally, Sweden welcomes the proposal of mapping the NGO's domains of competence, and we are willing to contribute to the further dialogue on how the participation of NGOs in the implementation of the Convention can be strengthened in a broader perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. We have just heard important and interesting reflections about this item and also some important questions, so I will give the floor to the NGOs to answer them. Thank you. The floor is yours, NGOs.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for giving us the floor. I'm Naila Ceribasic from International Council for Traditional Music, speaking here on behalf of the ICH NGO Forum and its steering committee. Let me first to address the issue of advisory functions that the committee wishes accredited NGOs to fulfill. Apart from serving in the evaluation body, the ICH NGO Forum has identified 7 additional groups of functions. They have been listed in the Article 3 of the Forum bylaws adopted 3 days ago on 11 December at our general meeting. The adopted bylaws, as well as the Code of Conduct, have been delivered to the Secretariat and through this channel are available for your consideration. Let me to mention just one of these 7 groups of functions that we have identified. It is, I quote, to advise the Intergovernmental Committee on specific thematic issues and participate in reporting and monitoring on inscribed ICH elements and safeguarding practices. We already work on such topics. For instance, ICH in urban context was addressed last Sunday at our symposium, and currently we work on the preparation of the next symposium on ICH and sustainable tourism, including also the creation of guidelines and a toolkit for all stakeholders, especially communities. We also plan to produce a report on the state of safeguarding ICH in Latin America and the Caribbean, with an emphasis on the role of NGOs in safeguarding processes. This will contribute to the overall report on the safeguarding in the region, which will be at the agenda of the next committee meeting. So, speaking from the perspective of ICH NGO Forum, in the period from April this year, when the consultation meeting took place, until now, we may conclude that a clear consensus emerged within the Forum regarding the identification of inter alia advisory functions. We have also created and adopted the Code of Conduct as expected from us following the consultation meeting in April. As for the disparity in size and capacities of accredited NGOs addressed in paragraph 9 of the Secretariat report, we consider it as a direct and necessary reality in response to the variety and diversity of communities, groups, and individuals that we serve. Yet keeping in mind the complications that such variation may present in the assessment of NGOs' contributions and consequently in the accreditation system. Since the consultation meeting in April until now, the Forum has not reached any particular proposal concerning the accreditation and reaccreditation system and its possible revision. Further on, referring to paragraph 15 of the report, the ICH NGO Forum is an already existing umbrella association that encourages, plurality of expertise, and fair and equal participation among different NGOs and regions, in contrast to the concerns expressed at the consultation meeting in April and in the related report. Therefore, we wish to reaffirm that the Forum advocates and operates in favor of plurality, diversity, and participation. We completely share the concern of the General Assembly, the Committee, and the Secretariat regarding the unbalanced geographical distribution of accredited NGOs. We also agree that the way out is to foster the accreditation of NGOs based in underrepresented regions. On how to accomplish this, we are of the opinion that capacity building workshops in such regions would be of crucial importance, as pointed out in our intervention on the agenda item 7. Therefore, we very much appreciate the proposed draft decision, paragraph 6, related to the organization of capacity building activities. As well, we appreciate the proposed draft decision, paragraph 5, related to the request to the Secretariat to develop a mapping of NGOs' domains and competence and their capacities. We hope that the ICH NGO Forum will also be invited to take an active role in that process. And now, if you allow me, I would more directly address the remaining proposals, questions by distinguished members of the committee. So regarding a question whether it would be helpful for us to have the report presented to the committee, of course we are extremely grateful for such an opportunity. Whether it would be in a form of report that is information report or separate agenda items, it is not that we are completely clear about all challenges and opportunities which a separate agenda item brings. But in any case, I mean, a broader report would be, of course, something that we would very much be grateful about. As for, to explain also the question of geographical, current geographical imbalance. Apart from that, what I mentioned already, it was posed the question of what is the structure of governing bodies. So according to bylaws that adopted 3 days ago, the executive board, executive organ of the ICH Forum is steering committee composed of 7 members, 6 members from representing 6 electoral groups and 1 member representing international organizations. According to the rule, only accredited NGOs with headquarters in the region concerned can represent that concerns. But apart from the steering committee itself, we also strongly follow the idea of equal geographical representation. So to exemplify that, on our last Saturday and Sunday, on our capacity building workshop and symposium, we strongly tried as much as possible, due to the fact of current geographical imbalance, to organize these happenings in very participatory way, and also to have as moderators, chairs, facilitators, people who represent these different regions. So, I mean, there is no any doubt that a forum is strongly in favor of equal geographical representation of NGOs. Were there any other? No, so I think, thank you. Thank you, committee members, and thank you, Mrs. Chairperson.
Thank you, NGOs, for your intervention. I will give the floor to Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and thank you to all those who intervened on this matter, including the NGOs. And perhaps I'll start by saying, and having listened very carefully to the interventions, that there is some, I was particularly encouraged by the statement from the NGOs that indeed the meeting we had in April has advanced, and indeed it does seem that some of the, let's say, unclear areas seem to have been sorted out within the NGO forum, and that is very encouraging, because it gives us a sense that indeed there is way forward on this. Just to say that I've been trying to hear from emerging issues on advisory roles that NGO forum could play, and I heard multiple references to periodic reporting, and that NGOs could interface with the periodic reporting system. I heard it from the NGOs, but also from a number of states. And the time is very opportune, since we are now going into a new way of periodic reporting. And then there was reference to thematic issues. So all of this is very welcome, and I think it shows that let's say, the work started last year, including in the survey and then the meeting, is continuing and progress is being made. Concerning the report to the committee, this was also raised at the GA, and there are statutory differences in terms of what that means. If there is a separate item, then there must be decisions. And when we mentioned this at the GA, some mentioned reservations about that, putting the NGO forum under direct instruction of states within the framework of the committee. There is another option, which would be to give the full report and attach it as an INF document, say, for example, the Secretariat's report, whereby the non-governmental organizations could report. They would still have to prepare the report in 2 languages 4 weeks before the committee starts, and then they could present it and answer questions on it, but there would not be a decision attached to their report. So those are 2 different ways of going it, but they do have statutory implications. And again, this was raised at the General Assembly, the last General Assembly, and the preference was not to do it then. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be done, but those implications are important. And perhaps it would be prudent to start with an INF document until we have defined areas by the committee or by the GA, which will then guide where the NGOs are and how the NGOs are supposed to report. I think I'll leave my answer at that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. I see Austria. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just by way of clarification, did I understand that right? Apart from a separate agenda item, the other option would be to annex the report of the NGO forum. To what report? To the activities report of the, can you specify? I didn't really clearly understand. An annex to which report?
Well, we could look at it as an annex of when we do the Secretariat's report, as an extension, but an independent extension, meaning that, but give the floor to reporting. We could perhaps find somewhere else. This is what we thought of as, it just fits neatly in terms of the statutory. If you want to have it as an INF document, the question is whether it's going to be an INF document or whether it's going to be a document for decision by the committee. And whether it's the Secretariat's report that is attached to as an INF document, it does seem to be the most logical place. It could be attached as an INF document, perhaps to other reports, such as reports of the committee. We could figure that out. Yeah.
Well, since I see no more interventions, let us move now to the decision. Please refer to the document 15 and its draft decision in paragraph 21. Can we see it on screen, please? We will adopt it paragraph by paragraph. Paragraph 1, adopted. Paragraph 2, adopted. Paragraph 3, adopted. Paragraph 4, adopted. Paragraph 5, it's okay. We have an amendment here from Philippines. I'll give the floor to Poland and then to Palestine. Poland, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to support this paragraph to be co-sponsor of this government.
Thank you, Poland. Palestine?
Apoyamos la enmienda de Filipinas.
Austria?
Supporting
Also.
it.
Thank you. Who else? Colombia? Zambia? Togo? Kuwait? Armenia? Senegal? Sri Lanka? Cuba? Jamaica? Netherlands? Okay, we're ready now. Paragraph 5, adopted. Paragraph 6, adopted. Paragraph 7, adopted. Paragraph 8, adopted. Austria?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We think that actually the idea or the proposal of the Philippines merits consideration. We would actually like to support it because we think, and I would like to explain it a bit. I think it would be an excellent opportunity for NGOs to address the committee and to have the chance of a really interactive dialogue and taking up issues that NGOs think are important and pertinent, in particular in view of the function that has been described several times, bringing up new and emergent issues.
Excuse me, sorry. The sound, something happens?
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair, we can't hear the distinguished delegate of Austria, so she maybe ask her to repeat her statement, please.
Okay. Could you repeat, please, your statement? Thank you.
Most certainly. I'm sorry. I keep doing the same thing after 6 days. Well, it's the last day anyway, so please bear with me. So I was just about to say that Austria is inclined to support the Philippines amendment, and I would like to explain it. We think it would be an extraordinary and wonderful opportunity for NGOs to be in active and interactive dialogue with the committee, and in particular in view of the function that has been described. Oh, okay. The functions that have been described in bringing forward new emerging issues. I do think that we could, having heard the reservations by the Secretariat and also by the NGOs themselves who said that they are not quite clear about the challenges and opportunities, that we could try to do it on a experimental or trial basis. And then see. I mean, in my mind, nobody's going to force the NGOs to talk to us. If they tell us next year that they don't like it, that they don't have the capacities to present a report, then, well, we'll find a new format. But I think if we do it in such a way, we should also think of doing it in a more innovative way, not, the usual report, discussion, decision, that's it. I mean, I think just the very fact that we could benefit from really new, exciting ideas which are important for the future of the Convention, emerging issues that merit a deeper reflection. We could do it in a much more interactive format. There's room, I think, to jointly to reflect on this together with the NGO Forum, the Steering Committee, whoever, and the Secretariat. How best possibly to structure and organize this debate. Because I'm thinking not only on the report of the forum, where they would sort of give us an overview of the discussions held, but maybe then also more of a forward-looking interactive format, whereby we sort of think ahead more strategically as to the evolution of the Convention. These are just some random thoughts that come to my mind. So if we could decides to include a separate item on an experimental basis, we would be very happy to support this. Okay.
So let's add Austria proposal on this paragraph on an experimental basis. After separate item Now the floor is for Poland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also are agreeing that it is very good for the convention to provide the committee members with the report of the ICH Non-Governmental Organization Forum to the committee members, and we would like to also propose, maybe not decides, but invites the NGOs to provide the committee with the report. This is our proposition, but
okay. So it's a word. It's deciding changes by inviting. That's it. That's what you want. Okay, but Mr. Curti wants to say something.
If you start with invites, it's a new formulation of the paragraph. Invites the NGO forum is invites the Secretariat to include a separate item on report.
Invites the NGOs to provide the committee with the report. But if there is no agreement for that, we can stay with this proposition.
I think it's different because the invitation does not has to do with the inclusion of an item, and I think that's what is written there is to include an item. So it's different. Palestine?
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Seulement pour clarifier une petite chose. Moi, j'ai compris, lorsque les NGOs ont répondu, ils ont fait très clair qu'ils sont très contents de présenter leur rapport et ils ont dit qu'ils étaient flexibles, que ce soit separate item or... Bon, maintenant, je pense que la majorité des collègues sont d'accord avec l'amendement de Philippines tel qu'amendé par l'Autriche, c'est-à-dire nous, en tant que comité, on décide d'inclure un point à l'ordre du jour, mais sur une base expérimentale. Donc l'idée ici, on ne peut pas changer le mot. It should be decides. It is the committee, and this is the best wording, I think. So please add Palestine to this amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Palestine. Colombia tiene la palabra.
Gracias, señora presidenta. First of all, we would like to thank the NGO Forum also for their explanation. I believe it's very much in line with what we discussed in the meeting, in the information meeting in April with the Secretariat, and it's very refreshing and very, I don't know the word, muy como emocionante, to see how, yeah, the Spanish will come around. To see how this year is really reflecting of all these things we are thinking about how to move forward in the convention and to have new participants, new actors, and especially to see what we are going to do with these accredited NGOs. That said, I'm very much in line with the amendment proposed by the Philippines, of course, with the amendment with Austria. I think it's a very good opportunity to see other kind of participation of these NGOs in this space. Of course, we would really much like to see how the Secretariat proposes this to be the best way and the best way to carry it out, because throughout the year we have been discussing this, and I think the Secretariat has very good ideas about what will be the best way to do it. So if the Secretary is good with this sort of experimental report, I think we all should get on board and move forward with this. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Colombia. Guatemala.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Y al ser mi primera intervención en el último día, permítame felicitarla por llevar la asamblea y llevar la reunión, y también felicitar al gobierno de Colombia por poner la región latinoamericana a un nivel tan alto. Felicitaciones y muchísimas gracias. En cuanto al punto número 9, a la propuesta de Filipinas, creo que estamos de acuerdo con ello, la secundamos y al mismo tiempo secundamos también lo mencionado por Austria. Creo que dentro del debate que hemos tenido en los últimos puntos, especialmente en el día de ayer y en el de hoy, en donde los criterios y la intervención de las comunidades en el desarrollo y en las medidas de salvaguardia de patrimonio material e intangible, el rol de las ONGs va a ser muy importante. Entonces, apoyamos y recibimos con mucho agrado que se cree ese reporte y agradecemos también a las ONGs que están totalmente dispuestas de realizarlo. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Gracias, Guatemala. Philippines.
Thank you, Madam President. We'd like to thank distinguished committee members for their support and understanding. We also accept the amendment of the distinguished ambassador of Austria, and we think that just to explain that that first of all, the procedures and governance of the committee are always evolving with a view to improvement of our common mission to safeguard ICH with the NGOs as our full-fledged partners. And secondly, the idea of having it as a separate item wouldn't be at all to impinge on the independence of the NGOs at all. It would be really to take cognizance of their important work and to take note of the report and the hard work that goes behind it every year. So just in short, we're happy with this proposal, and we hope that we can adopt by consensus. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippines. Poland.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all the clarifications provided, and we just wish to support this amendment. Thank you.
Austria.
Just one thing, my distinguished colleague from Kazakhstan made me aware that if we introduce so sorry. So my distinguished colleague from Kazakhstan made me aware of something. He really thought it through. I thank him very much. He actually pointed to the fact that we write in the amendment at its subsequent sessions, and that it could be a bit, that it could be better to have sort of a sunset clause. So if it were agreeable to the committee, if we said decides to include on an experimental basis a separate item at its 15th session, and then when we see that it's good, we can in our decision reflect to include another separate item at the 16th. And then we can also hear from the NGOs whether they thought it was a useful exercise or not. I have no strong feelings on this because I'm truly convinced, as also my distinguished colleague from Philippines said, I don't see an issue with independence. I see rather the opportunity for NGOs to be in direct contact with us, and this is something we would very much welcome. Again, if NGOs don't want to talk to us, this committee is not in a position to force them. So thanks a million.
Thank you, Austria. Netherlands.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Netherlands fully supports the amended paragraph as it is now.
So I think we're ready to adopt it. Okay. Adopt it. Now we're going to before proceeding to adopt the draft decision as a whole, I'll give the floor to Mr. Curtis.
Just very quickly, about some of the comments, and I only wanted to intervene after the decision because there was a direct question from Colombia, but just to reflect what was discussed in the GA was not that the NGOs did not want to address the committee, but the statutory concerns of the committee giving instructions to the NGO. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. But I think this works very well.
Then let's proceed to adopt the decision as a whole. I declare decision 14-15 adopted.